14,153,173. That is how many people were inside 99 Nights in the Forest at the same time on October 4, 2025. Not total visits, not downloads. More than 14 million people playing one Roblox game at once. For perspective, that is almost 3 times the entire population of New Zealand, the country where the game was made. And the core studio behind it was not some giant company with hundreds of employees. It was 3 New Zealand friends, Alec Keefe, Matthew Houghton, and Cameron Anglin. Online, Roblox players knew them as Cracky4, Forksev, and Viridial. They built the launch version in roughly 3 months. Less than a year later, Disney's 20th Century Studios won the theatrical film rights in a competitive bidding process, and all 3 creators became executive producers. That sounds like the cleanest overnight success story imaginable. 3 friends, 3 months, 14 million players. Hollywood. But it is also completely misleading, because the real story did not begin in 2025. It began more than a decade earlier, with children messing around in Roblox war clans, learning to code after school, releasing games that worked, games that failed, and games that quietly taught them exactly what Roblox players wanted. 99 Nights in the Forest took 3 months to build. The team capable of building it took around 11 years. Alec Keefe joined Roblox in 2009. He was still a kid, and one of the adults who accidentally pushed him deeper into the platform was his math teacher. He apparently saw Roblox's physics sandbox and thought it might be educational. In practice, Alec and the other students mostly used the time to shoot zombies. But Roblox had one unusual advantage. When you installed the player, Roblox Studio was sitting right beside it. Playing and creating were separated by one icon. By 2014, Alec crossed over. His first serious project was called Defenders of Roblox. It was a story-driven zombie survival game inspired by rough Roblox versions of Left 4 Dead. The funny part is that Alex had never even played the real Left 4 Dead. He only knew the Roblox copies, and he loved them enough to build his own version while teaching himself how to program. The game was never supposed to become popular. Then, one day in 2014, with no advertising, it reached the #1 spot on Roblox's popular page. For a teenager still learning to code, that moment changed the scale of what seemed possible. Alec kept going. On Boxing Day in 2014, one of his early games, also called Jailbreak, years before the famous version most players know today, reached around 6,000 concurrent players and topped Roblox's popular list. In 2017, he released Icebreaker, which eventually passed 70 million visits. He was learning more than programming. Every game taught him something about titles, thumbnails, pacing, social play, and what made a player click one more time. And not every lesson felt good. His game Parkour Tower failed to reach the top 10, while 5 of his first 6 releases did. Years later, Alex still said that failure bothered him. He kept wondering why players did not enjoy it. That obsession matters, because the people who create giant hits are rarely correct every time. They are usually the people who study the misses instead of pretending the misses never happened. While Alec was learning through zombie games, 2 other kids were doing the same thing from New Plymouth, New Zealand. Matthew Houghton and Cameron Anglin had known each other since primary school. Matthew began coding on Roblox at around 11 years old. His first experiments were tiny, things like making a door work, but each small project made the next one possible. The pair met Alec online when they were around 13, and they did not meet at a business conference or a game development event. They met through Roblox war clans. These were organized groups that built military bases, trained like imaginary soldiers, and raided rival clans with laser guns. It was a strange little Roblox subculture, but it forced people to build maps, script systems, organize teams, and work together online. The same fake wars that look like wasted time to an adult were quietly assembling a real development team. Over the years, their abilities separated into 3 useful lanes. Alec became strongest in game design and art direction. Matthew led programming. Cameron focused on environments, building, and 3D models. That division would later let them move far faster than 3 generalists, all trying to do the same job. But before 99 Nights, they needed proof that the team could build something people actually wanted. For Alec, that proof arrived with Break-In. He worked on the game through his final year of university. While friends prepared for normal jobs, Alec was trying to finish a multiplayer story about a group of players trapped in a house during an attack. After graduating, he gave himself 3 more months of full-time work to complete it. and when release day came, he was convinced it would fail. That fear was reasonable. A Roblox developer can spend 4 or 5 months building something and receive almost nothing in return. There is no guarantee that the algorithm, players, or YouTubers will care. But Alec had made one smart choice. Break-In was naturally good content. Story games give creators a beginning, escalating chaos, characters, secrets, and an ending. A YouTuber does not have to invent a video around the game. The game already gives them one. Alec did not pay for marketing, and he did not send the game to famous creators. They found it themselves. One of them was Flamingo, already one of the biggest Roblox YouTubers in the world. His video on Break-In went on to receive more than 14 million views, pushing the game in front of an enormous audience. The release exploded. Break-In eventually crossed 2 billion visits, and its sequel later passed 1 billion. But the bigger asset was not the visit count. Alec had learned a distribution lesson that would return in 99 Nights. Do not only make a game that is fun to play, make a game that creates stories people want to watch. By 2020, Alec, Matthew, and Cameron had formed Grandma's favorite games. The name sounded like a joke. The business was becoming very real. Their first major collaboration was Mall Tycoon, a game where players build and expand their own shopping center. At the time, Matthew was finishing an engineering degree, working at the agriculture technology company Halter, and developing games during evenings and weekends. Roblox was still a side project. Then Mall Tycoon changed everything. According to Matthew, the game had only a few hundred players one day. Then, almost overnight, it jumped to roughly 60,000 concurrent players. This is the 60,000 player overnight story that sometimes gets incorrectly attached to 99 Nights. It actually happened years earlier. The money gave Matthew something even more valuable than a flashy number: runway. He could see that the game might support him for at least a year or two, which made leaving a normal engineering career feel like a calculated risk instead of pure gambling. A later local profile described his Roblox income as reaching 6 figures a month. He quit his job and committed to games full-time, and the experience kept stacking. Soon after Mall Tycoon, Matthew teamed up with developer Jandel on Wacky Wizards. At its peak, around 144,000 people were playing simultaneously. It has now passed 1 billion visits. Meanwhile, Alec had the Break-In series, and Cameron had years of experience creating environments and assets. So when people say 3 friends suddenly made one of Roblox's largest games, they leave out the most important part. By 2025, these were not beginners with one lucky idea. Between them, they had already helped create multiple billion-visit games. They understood Roblox's tools, audience, culture, and discovery system at a level most traditional studios could not copy by simply hiring more employees. And even with all that experience, they still could not predict what would work. Matthew has said they continue to release games without knowing whether they will succeed. Their process is less about giant focus groups and complicated forecasts, and more about making something timely that they personally find fun than watching real players closely. That is exactly how 99 Nights in the Forest began. In early 2025, the 3 friends were temporarily living together again. The original plan was simple: use the opportunity to make a game in about 1 week. 1 week became 3 months. The team began building in March and publicly launched the game in June. Even at 3 months, it was their fastest development cycle. Earlier projects had often taken closer to 6. Before launch, they quietly brought in only a handful of testers at a time. They watched where people became confused, what they ignored, and which moments pulled them forward. They were not inventing every ingredient from nothing. Matthew had grown up loving classic Roblox survival games like Survival 303 and Survival 404. The team also understood that cooperative survival was working across gaming. Their advantage was knowing how to translate that feeling into something a Roblox player could understand almost instantly. The entire game can be explained in one sentence: build a camp with friends, keep the fire alive, rescue 4 missing children, and survive whatever is watching from the darkness. During the day, players spread out to cut trees, collect food and scrap, open chests, and improve the base. When night arrives, the forest becomes dangerous. Wolves attack, cultists invade, and a huge upright creature called the deer waits beyond the campfire's light. The game opens by saying it is based on a true story, and its 4 missing children are widely connected to the 4 Colombian siblings who survived 40 days in the Amazon after a 2023 plane crash. But the deer, the cultists, and nearly all of the horror are fictional. And why 99 nights instead of 100? According to Alec, 99 simply sounded better. It was a small choice, but a smart one. 100 nights sounded like a round number. 99 nights sounded like a title. The team kept the launch version focused. Alec directed the design and visual identity. Matthew handled the core programming. Cameron built the forest and its models. Their 3-month speed was not proof that good games are easy to make. It was proof that specialists who have collaborated for years can make decisions without spending weeks learning how the other people think. The game started gaining traction after its June launch. Within weeks, it crossed 1 million concurrent players. That growth was not caused by one secret trick. It came from several systems reinforcing each other. First, the loop was incredibly clear. Day means preparation, night means consequences. Every tree you ignore, every piece of food you waste, and every teammate who disappears into the forest can become a problem when the light goes down. The game constantly creates small unfinished jobs, so there's always one more reason to continue. Second, it was built around friendship. At the time, many of Roblox's biggest hits were idle experiences where players waited for crops, money, or numbers to grow. 99 Nights asked players to move, divide jobs, communicate, and panic together. Alec has compared survival games to the jokingly named friendslop genre, games that give a group of friends something entertaining to do while they talk. That description fits perfectly. Cutting wood creates enough calm for a conversation. Then the deer appears, everybody screams, and the calm disappears. Third, almost every session creates content. A beginner can film their first encounter with the deer. An expert can build an impossible fortress. Friends can attempt challenge runs, speed runs, class combinations, or survive for thousands of days. By September 2025, individual YouTube videos about base building had already collected millions of views. Shorts built around scares and chaotic moments reached tens of millions, and TikTok clips did the same. This was the break-in lesson at a much larger scale. The developers did not need to buy every view because the game continuously manufactured video ideas for creators. Fourth, the horror was easy to recognize. The deer was not hidden behind complicated lore. It was a familiar animal made immediately wrong. Too tall, standing on two legs, with huge eyes staring through the trees. It was creepy enough to be memorable, but stylized enough for Roblox's young audience. Finally, the game had reasons to return. The 99 Night objective gave every run a finish line. Classes changed how players approached the game. Badges created extra challenges. Base building added creativity. And after reaching Night 99, players could continue surviving far beyond it for bragging rights. The business model followed Roblox's familiar free-to-play structure. Anyone could enter, while optional purchases such as diamonds, classes, and survival advantages created revenue from the most invested players. The exact earnings have never been publicly confirmed, and the responsible answer is not to invent them. But a game does not sit near the top of Roblox's earning chart with millions of active players by accident. The platform itself multiplied everything. Roblox averaged more than 150 million daily active users in the third quarter of 2025. The audience was already installed, logged in, and one recommendation away. The team had created the right loop inside the right platform at the right moment. But a viral launch still fades unless the developers give people a reason to gather again. Grandma's favorite games moved into a strict weekly update schedule. New classes, creatures, locations, items, and challenges kept arriving. But the smartest part was what happened before the updates. Every weekend, the developers ran a short sandbox-style update party. For roughly 45 minutes, normal rules could disappear. The team could spawn rewards, change conditions, create chaos, and interact directly with the community before the new content went live. Instead of treating an update like a silent file download, they turned it into an appointment. Players knew when to arrive. Friends planned to meet. YouTubers and streamers had a live event to cover. A single update created anticipation before release, a player spike during the party, reaction videos afterward, and then a fresh week of normal gameplay. The machine reached its peak on October 4, 2025, when the taming update allowed players to recruit animals as companions. During that event, 99 Nights in the Forest hit 14,153,173 concurrent players. That was an event peak, not the number sitting in the game every ordinary afternoon. But that distinction does not make it less ridiculous. For one moment, a 3-person New Zealand partnership had gathered one of the largest simultaneous audiences in gaming history, and the game showed signs of being more durable than a single event. In September, it was already averaging longer sessions and more daily visits than some of Roblox's other viral giants. Months later, when the developers finally took a 2-week break from constant updates, Alex said the game remained around 3rd place on Roblox by daily active users. As of July 2026, it has accumulated more than 28 billion visits and still regularly hosts hundreds of thousands of players. Then the story escaped Roblox completely. In April 2026, 20th Century Studios secured the theatrical film rights to 99 Nights in the Forest after a competitive bidding process. No public price was announced, and no writer or director had been attached when the deal was revealed. What was confirmed was that Alec, Matthew, and Cameron would serve as executive producers. 3 friends who met through laser gun raids and Roblox war clans were now helping Hollywood adapt a world they had built in 3 months. It is tempting to reduce that journey to luck. Luck absolutely mattered. The Roblox algorithm could have ignored the game, Creators could have chosen something else. Players could have left after one night. But luck only explains why the opportunity appeared. It does not explain why this team was ready for it. They had spent more than a decade learning Roblox from the inside. They knew how to divide the work. They knew that a game had to be understandable, social, replayable, and watchable. They had survived failed projects, built previous hits, and earned enough runway to take another risk. So yes, 99 Nights in the Forest was made in 3 months. But the real construction began in 2014, when a teenager learning to code released a zombie game with no advertising and watched it reach #1. The 14 million player night was the explosion everybody saw. The 11 years before it were the fuse. If you want more stories about the people and businesses behind Roblox's biggest games, subscribe to Mina RS, and tell me which creator we should investigate next.